Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Pleased to be with you this morning. Last year in this setting, I asked you about the TPP, the Trans-Pacific Partnership Trade Agreement. Your response to me touted the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum. I would highlight for you that just in the last 6 months, the Australian Foreign Minister, Singapore's Defense Minister, Japan's Foreign Minister have noted, I think with objection, our absence from that agreement. What is it that keeps us from a willingness to engage? You can shift me back to the Indo-Pacific Economic Forum, but why is it that this is not a good idea? The TPP is not a good idea for us to engage in. I say this, perhaps from an economic, point of view, but from a relationship. I meant to say this at the very beginning. I'm as concerned about our nation as I've ever been. Those are usually throwaway lines from something we say throughout our careers and lives, but it's genuine with me. The circumstances we now face suggest to me that we need a lot more friends and allies, and our trading relationship, our economic support, those relationships matter. I walked into Senator Rubio and you were conversing, and it seems to me that our foreign policy needs to be different in today's world than it was just even a few years ago. And this would be one that I think would be important from a relationship, from a national security point of view, as much as it is from an economic point of view.
Yeah. So, Senator, a couple of things on that. First, our focus in the immediate is on building up and building out the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, known as IPEF. That does include, among other things, some trade facilitation measures. It has a focus, for example, on digital trade, which is so critical to the 21st century economies. It's something that the partners in that endeavor are very focused on.
Why does that exclude TPP?
It doesn't exclude it. I'm just saying in the first instance, this is where our focus is. Supply chain diversification and resiliency. That is a big part of IPEF. Building out clean economy infrastructures. That's a big focus. And then, as well, making sure that we're combating together corruption that so undermines the systems that we're trying to bring together. I was there when TPP was negotiated during the Obama administration. I was engaged in that, and I think that in that moment, it was a very good endeavor and one that I think both economically and strategically had real benefits. I think as it now stands, the world has moved on, and I think we have to focus in the first instance on what we can do and what we can build out and generate support for. Let's see where we get.
Generate support for
here
within the United States.
Within the United States, as well as, of course, among our allies and partners. I would note, of course, that even as we're working on the Indo-Pacific Economic Framework, we have been building and strengthening new partnerships in the Indo-Pacific, to include the Quad. I just came from a meeting with Japan, with Australia, and with India. That's a very effective vehicle, including on increasingly on economic matters. We, of course, more strategically have AUKUS. President, as you know, just came from a meeting with the UK and Australia on that, and we have deepened and strengthened our engagement with ASEAN, including economically. So all of those pieces fit together.
Mr. Secretary, I just would say from my point of view, when you say we've moved on, we should not have moved on, and we should re-engage. These things are not mutually exclusive, and what you described as occurring are, in my view, good things, but it still leaves out an important component. I join a number of my colleagues here. I'm a co-chair of the Senate Hunger Caucus. Yep. Afghanistan, massive humanitarian crisis, 20 million people facing food insecurity. The Taliban recently eliminated the ability for women to work in NGO organizations and food delivery. What steps are you thinking between you and Samantha Powers and others that can be done in regard to Afghanistan and the world food crisis?
Yeah, Senator, you're right to point to this this huge challenge. We have been, even since the withdrawal from Afghanistan and ending the war, the largest single humanitarian contributor to Afghanistan, particularly when it comes to the fundamentals, the basics like food. We've been working relatively effectively through international partners, implementers, the United Nations, NGOs that were getting food where it was needed and getting other basic humanitarian support. I think there was a real concern in the first year about the possibility of Afghanistan as deeply challenged as it was, falling even further off the edge. That didn't happen in large part because we were able to sustain the assistance. The problem that we face now is exactly what you pointed to, the edicts promulgated by the Taliban preventing women from participating in the delivery of assistance. That violates a fundamental principle that we do not want to in any way ratify. But what's happening as a practical matter is that in many parts of Afghanistan, that edict is not being implemented, which means that where it's not being implemented, we're able to continue to have these groups support them providing assistance because women are still allowed to participate in its distribution. So that's what's going on right now. But look, I agree with you. The Taliban is taking steps that are digging an even deeper hole for the people of Afghanistan.
This evening, a number of us will say goodbye to Ambassador Beasley, say hello and welcome to Ambassador McCain. Yeah. I'd use this opportunity to express my gratitude for the leadership of Ambassador Beasley. And,
he's been remarkable.
He has been remarkable, and to wish every best wish for Ambassador McCain. 38 seconds, Mr. Secretary. Last month, I sent a letter along with a number of my colleagues to Assistant Secretary Bitter, Consular Affairs. Mm-hmm. What needs to be done to improve the processing of the visas? That's the nature of our inquiry. It can take over 400 days for a student to get an interview for an appointment. These are certainly strategic in relationship. They're family and humanitarian. Our office, I would guess, like most of my colleagues, has become a passport and visa office. We are a part of, apparently, the State Department with just hundreds. I see a report every week of what we call casework. Lots of many significant things. Visas and passports occupy a significant portion of our staff's time. We're willing and happy to do it, but there needs to be change at the State Department and Consular Affairs.
Yeah, I very much appreciate that, and this is something that, Senator, we are, and I am absolutely seized with. As you know, we've had to build back from COVID. The system for doing the visas as well, by the way, here doing passports is very labor intensive. A lot of that labor, both in terms of contractors and State Department personnel, went away during COVID. We've had to build back, and that has not been without challenge. And we're very focused on dealing with the wait times that people are experiencing in countries around the world. It affects primarily right now first-time visitor applicants. Processing times for categories that have a particular impact on the U.S. economy, students, temporary workers, maritime crew renewals, they are actually where they were before the pandemic, or actually better. For visitor visas, the median global interview appointment wait time is now under 2 months. That's the median. I don't want to say that there are not places of importance where it's longer, but the median time is under 2 months. That's half of what it was a year ago in 2022. Most places, the wait times are actually much lower than that as a practical matter. We have 58 million foreign nationals who actually hold a valid multi-entry visitor visa, so they don't, of course, need to keep reapplying, and they can visit whenever. And in fact, most international visitors to the United States come to the United States without a visa because they're either Canadian or they're part of the visa waiver program. Again, that doesn't answer the problem for those who require visas. What we're seeing, I think, first 5 months of this fiscal year FY23, we've had a huge surge again in non-immigrant visas. We increased those by 18% over the same period in 19, before the pandemic. Many countries, like Mexico, like Brazil, we actually issued more tourist visas in FY22 than we did in FY19. India, which I know has been a particular concern to a lot of people, the wait time for first-time visitor visa interviews dropped 60% since January of this year, just in the last few months. And we've issued 60% more non-immigrant visas this fiscal year to date than the same period, again, going back to 19. It's a long way of saying, if you look at it comprehensively, there is significant progress and improvement. But there are clearly places where we need to do more to surge some of our assets. And I think also what happens is, you know, anecdotally, these are real human problems. We all hear about them. We get seized with them. We want to work with you to continue to strengthen this and improve our
In that regard, would you think that your personnel at Consular Affairs, they have been helpful and appreciative of the circumstances that we and
Thank you.
the people we care about are in? Thank you.
you.